9. Environmental matters. Some useful phrases. Listen to the recording and repeat. Plastics aren't biodegradable. They don't break down easily in the environment. In what ways are your products environmentally friendly? We use recycled fibre in our boxes. We've managed to reduce our energy consumption by 15%. We don't use any fossil fuels. We use energy from alternative sources. How do you dispose of the waste in your factory? We have to send it to landfill. We're planning to build a new incineration plant next year. It's less harmful to the environment. What damage does ozone do? It's one of the main air pollutants. Factories don't emit it directly into the air. Has your company been affected much by government legislation? We've had to meet tough government standards. Are factories allowed to discharge wastewater into the lake? What happens if you exceed the limits? Dialogues 1. Recycling.
Recycling is big business these days, isn't it?
Yes, it's definitely a growing business.
What do you recycle in your plant?
Mainly plastics. Plastics aren't biodegradable. They don't break down easily in the environment, so they shouldn't be thrown away.
How is plastic recycled then?
Well, there are basically two methods. One is to break down the chemicals in the plastic into smaller chemical particles. These can then be used in the production of new chemicals.
Is that the method you use here?
No, we don't do that here. We recycle polyethylene and we make it into other products.
How do you do that?
By melting it down and then reforming it. Our main products are bin liners for kitchen bins and carrier bags for supermarkets.
Environmentally friendly products.
You say your products are aimed at the green consumer. In what ways are they environmentally friendly?
We produce household cleaning products, detergents and so on. They are all phosphate-free, which minimises damage to the environment.
What about the packaging?
We try to use as little packaging as possible. Also, all our bottles are made of recyclable plastic, and we use recycled fibre in our boxes. That's what our customers want.
Energy.
We've managed to reduce our energy consumption in our factory by about 15% in the last 2 years.
That's excellent. How have you managed that?
Mainly because we've invested in a heat recovery system.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, we use the exhaust gases from our printing presses to provide energy to heat our dryers.
What other sources of energy do you use?
We don't use any fossil fuels. Most of our power comes from hydroelectric plants. We're hoping to use even more energy from alternative sources in the future, perhaps even wind power.
Dialogues 2. Disposing of waste.
How do you dispose of the waste in your factory?
We try to recycle as much as we can.
What about the rest? How do you get rid of it?
We have to send it to landfill. It's very expensive because the government recently introduced a landfill tax, so we're planning to build a new incineration plant next year to burn our waste.
But doesn't incineration produce carbon monoxide?
Yes, you're right, it does. But we believe it's less harmful to the environment than landfill.
Air pollution.
I've heard of ground-level ozone, but can you explain what it is exactly?
Yes, it's one of the main air pollutants. Factories don't emit it directly into the air. It's actually formed when nitrogen oxides and VOC emissions come into contact with heat and sunlight.
Sorry, what does VOC stand for?
Oh, VOCs are volatile organic compounds. That's a technical term for solvents or other chemicals found in things like paint.
So what damage does ozone do to the environment?
Well, it can cause smog, which can affect people's health, especially people with breathing difficulties.
Water pollution.
Is the lake very polluted?
Well, I wouldn't swim in it, but the water is much cleaner than it was a few years ago.
Are local factories allowed to discharge wastewater into the lake?
Yes, but it must be treated in an effluent treatment plant first.
Legislation.
Has your company been affected much by government legislation?
Yes, we have. We've had to clean up our production process a lot to meet tough government standards.
What about your use of raw materials?
Well, we've had to cut down the amount of solvents we use, and we're not allowed to use lead in our products anymore.
What happens if you exceed the limits?
We try not to, because you might have to pay quite a heavy fine.